In this question we want to get the c term on its own, so in order to do that we have to look at the addition and the subtraction first. So obviously b is divided by c and then we add d. So the first thing we have to do now is we have to move the d. So if we move the d across, the equal sign of a minus d is then equal to b over c. We currently have c on the bottom line. Next thing we want to do is we want to get rid of that fraction. So to get rid of that fraction, we have to multiply both sides by c. So we multiply both sides by c, then we'll have c upon a minus d is just equal to b. Now for our last move, we want to get c on its own. So on the left hand side we've got c multiplied by that bracket. So if we want c on its own, if we move that bracket to the other side, we'll get b divided by a minus d, which is just divided by the bracket. For this one we've got two issues. The first issue is that we've got a fraction in there, which is going to make things slightly more complicated. And the second issue is the g that we want to get on its own, that we want to make the subject, is inside a bracket. So we know if the term is inside the bracket, we have to expand it to get rid of it. Before we do that, we want to get rid of this fraction. So to get rid of this fraction, the first thing that we can do is we can write it slightly differently. So that's exactly the same as writing m is equal to 3 multiplied by the bracket b plus g all over 4. So that's exactly the same as the first line, okay, and that's because if we had 3/4, say, times x, that's the same as 3/4 multiplied by x over 1, which is the same as 3x over 4. So it's exactly the same, there's a different way of writing it, which will make it slightly easier for us now. So what we want to do now is we want to get rid of that denominator. So if we want to get rid of that denominator on the right hand side, then we have to multiply by the 4 on both sides. So if we multiply by 4, we'll get 4m is equal to 3 upon b plus g. Now we're still looking to get the g as the subject of the formula. So to do that, we have to expand the brackets. If the wanted subject is inside the brackets, we have to expand the brackets to get rid of it. So to expand the brackets, then we'll have 4m is equal to 3b plus 3g. Okay. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to get that 3g on its own. So in order to get the 3g on its own, we have to move the 3b to the left hand side. So we'll have 4m minus 3b is equal to 3g. Okay, then in order to get the final answer, we've got 3g, we want 1g, so g is just going to be 4m minus 3b all over 3. There's our answer for g. G is now the subject of that formula. For this one we now have the square root of k. So if we want to get this k on its own, then we need to get the k out from under the square root. In order to do that, we just have to take the square of it. However, if we take the square of the square root of k, then we have to square everything in the equation. So we'll have h squared equals 4 squared, and then multiplied by the square root of k, all squared. Okay, if we can just go over to the side just for a second, if we have the square root of 4, that's all squared. Okay, square root of 4 is 2, which is 2 squared, which is equal to 4. So all this pretty much says is if we square a square root, then the two effectively just cancel each other out and we're left with whatever is under the square root. So that means over here we'll have h squared equals 16k. So the square root of k squared is going to be 16k. How now do we get the k on its own? Well, we just simply divide by 16. So if k is equal to h squared divided by 16, and there's our answer. For this question, we are looking to make x the subject of the formula. Our only problem is that we have two x terms, and they're both in some sort of fraction on the left hand side. The first thing we can do then is we can get rid of that fraction. Okay, so we get rid of that fraction, we will multiply both sides by x minus y. That'll mean we have x plus y equals 6 upon x minus y. When we bring this x minus y to the other side. If we then expand out that bracket, since we have the x inside the bracket, so we'll have x plus y is equal to 6x minus 6y. Next thing we want to do is we want to get all of the x terms together and then all of the y terms together, everything that's left. So we bring all the x terms together, then we're going to have on this side 6x minus x. Over here we're going to have y plus 6y. Y plus 6y will leave us with 7y. 6x minus x will leave us with 5x. So in order to get x on its own, it's going to be 7y divided by 5. The main difficulty with this one is that we have the x inside that bracket, which is going to make things slightly difficult. If we expand that bracket, we are going to turn out to have an x squared term and an x term. Okay, that's going to get quite messy. So what we can do instead is take the square root of both sides. So we've already seen that if we square a square root, then we get what's under the square root. But also, if we take the square root of a square, we're just left with whatever that number or whatever that letter is. So if we take the square root of ax minus b squared, then that's equal to the square root of k. And the square root of this squared will just leave us with ax minus b is equal to the square root of k. So if we move the minus b to the other side, we'll have ax equals the square root of k plus b. So if we want to find x on its own, then x is just the square root of k plus b all over a. Okay, in order for this to be completely correct, then our square root will be plus or minus, and plus or minus. For this question, we want to make s the subject of the formula. To do that, the first thing we need to do, we need to expand out this bracket so that we can get all the s terms. So we'll have minus sw, then plus sx, so minus s multiplied by minus x will give us plus sx. And now we want to bring all the s terms to the one side, and then divide through by whatever's left to get s on its own. So in order to do that, we're going to have us plus ws minus xs equals v. When we have got more than one s term, we want to factorize the s out and see what we're left with. So if we take the s out, we'll have u plus w minus x equals v. So now to get the s on its own, then we simply just do v divided by u plus w minus x. That's our s.